What if the life you are living now is not the final chapter, but only the opening scene of something far greater? What if comfort is not always a blessing and suffering is not always a curse, at least not in the way we think? And what if the way you see people today is not the way eternity will see them tomorrow? In Luke 16:19-31, Jesus tells a story that is simple in appearance, but deeply unsettling in meaning. It is the parable of a rich man and a poor beggar named Lazarus. It is one of the clearest moments where Jesus pulls back the curtain between this life and what lies beyond it. The story begins with two lives existing side by side, yet completely disconnected from each other. There was a rich man who lived in luxury every single day. His clothing was fine, his meals were abundant, and his lifestyle was comfortable and indulgent. The text suggests ongoing ease, not just occasional enjoyment, but a consistent state of satisfaction and excess. Right at his gate lay a man named Lazarus. He is the only person in any of Jesus' parables who is given a name, and that detail matters. Lazarus means God helps. This already sets a deeper tone. While the rich man is unnamed, surrounded by recognition and comfort in life, the poor man at his gate is known in heaven. Lazarus is described in a state of suffering, covered in sores, longing for scraps from the rich man's table. Even those scraps would have been considered a blessing to him, but instead, he is ignored. The only attention he receives is from dogs that come and lick his wounds. The contrast is sharp. One man lives inside abundance. The other lives at the edge of survival. Yet they are physically close. One gate separates them, but it might as well be an entire world. And here is where the story begins to shift without warning. Both men die. There is no dramatic description of their deaths, no extended explanation, just a simple transition. The beggar dies and the rich man also dies. Immediately, everything changes. Lazarus is carried by angels to a place of comfort described as Abraham's side, a position of honor and peace in Jewish understanding. The rich man finds himself in torment. The roles are reversed, not in a symbolic sense, but in a reality that feels final and irreversible. The rich man, who once lived in comfort, now looks up in suffering. Lazarus, who once lay in suffering, now rests in peace. From his place of torment, the rich man sees Abraham far away, with Lazarus by his side. And for the first time, he recognizes Lazarus, the man he once ignored at his gate. He calls out for mercy. "Father Abraham, have pity on me. Send Lazarus to dip the tip of his finger in water and cool my tongue, because I am in agony in this fire." Even in this moment, he still refers to Lazarus as someone who should serve him. That detail reveals something important. His perspective has not fully shifted, even after death. He still sees roles through the lens of status, but Abraham responds with a truth that cannot be avoided. Remember that in your lifetime you received your good things, while Lazarus received bad things. But now he is comforted here, and you are in agony. This is not presented as punishment for wealth itself, but as a reversal of ignored realities. The rich man's life was filled with opportunity, but it was also filled with blindness. He lived as if Lazarus did not matter. Abraham continues, explaining that between them is a great chasm, fixed and unchangeable, preventing movement from one side to the other. This image is not just about distance, it is about finality, a separation that cannot be crossed after a certain point. The rich man then makes another request. If Lazarus cannot come to him, then at least send him to warn his 5 brothers, so they will not end up in the same place. This is where the story becomes even more revealing. The rich man, who ignored Lazarus in life, now wants Lazarus to become a messenger for his family. But Abraham replies that they already have what they need. They have Moses and the prophets. In other words, they have the teachings, the warnings, the truth. The implication is clear. Awareness was already available in life. The issue was not lack of information. The issue was lack of attention. The rich man insists, "No, Father Abraham, but if someone from the dead goes to them, they will repent." But Abraham's final response closes the parable with a sobering truth. If they do not listen to Moses and the prophets, they will not be convinced, even if someone rises from the dead. This final statement is powerful. It suggests that transformation is not only about extraordinary signs. It is about willingness to listen to what is already given. The parable is not simply about wealth and poverty. It is about perception, awareness, and response to truth. The rich man's failure is not described as cruelty. There is no mention that he actively harmed Lazarus. His failure is omission. He did not see, or perhaps he saw but did not respond. Lazarus is not described as speaking. He does not plead. He does not argue. His presence alone is the silent testimony at the gate. This detail is important. Sometimes the most significant truths are not loud. They are simply present. One man lived in constant consumption. The other lived in constant need. And between them was a gate that represented not only physical separation, but emotional and spiritual distance. The story challenges the listener to consider what gates exist in their own life. What do we pass by regularly without noticing? Who do we overlook because they are too familiar, too inconvenient, or too easy to ignore? Jesus does not say the rich man was unaware of Lazarus' existence. He says Lazarus was laid at his gate. That implies visibility, proximity, opportunity for awareness. Yet awareness without response becomes indifference. The reversal after death is not arbitrary. It reflects a deeper principle. Earthly reality is not the final measurement of value. Comfort does not always equal favor, and suffering does not always equal abandonment. The name Lazarus, meaning God helps, becomes significant in hindsight, because while he received no help from people, his ultimate help came from beyond human systems. The rich man, unnamed in the story, becomes symbolic of identity without legacy, known in life but undefined in eternity. That contrast alone invites reflection. The rich man's final concern for his brothers shows another layer. Even in regret, he recognizes the importance of awareness. But Abraham's response emphasizes responsibility. Truth was already available. The warning is subtle but serious. If a person is not willing to listen to truth in life, even dramatic signs may not change their heart. This shifts the focus from external miracles to internal readiness. The parable does not aim to create fear. It aims to awaken perception. It asks a quiet but persistent question. How do we respond to what is already in front of us? The story also reveals something about memory. The rich man remembers Lazarus. He remembers his family. But memory without change becomes regret. And regret without response becomes permanence. The separation described is not only physical, it is reflective of choices made over time. A life lived without attention to what truly matters creates distance that cannot easily be undone. At the center of this parable is a challenge about awareness. Not everyone who appears successful is spiritually aligned. Not everyone who appears insignificant is spiritually unseen. Eternal perspective reorders what human systems often misjudge. The rich man's wealth did not protect him from accountability. Lazarus' suffering did not erase his value. Both lives are seen clearly in the end, even if one was ignored in the beginning. The story ends without resolution between the two brothers on earth. It remains open, directed at the listener. Because the real question is not what happened to them, but what is happening in us. What do we see but fail to respond to? What do we know but delay acting on? What do we assume will always be there until it is no longer? Jesus tells this story not to condemn, but to awaken awareness of how life is being lived in the present moment. Because the gate in the story is not just ancient architecture. It is every boundary that separates awareness from indifference. And what lies beyond it may be closer than we think. Thank you for watching this video. If this message gave you something to reflect on, please like the video, follow the channel, and share it with someone who needs to hear this reminder today.